On a recent trip to Tokyo, I came across Dean and DeLuca, and there was some amazing baked goods. I had a chocolate, wait for this, chocolate Oreo muffins. I mean, how can you top that? But, you know, I live my life with a little bit of healthy indulgence is what I call it. So today, we're not going to go down the chocolate Oreo route. We're going to be doing an apple cake, a beautiful apple cake, and we're going to top it off with some walnut praline. So there's a little bit of indulgence in there, but generally good for you and really delicious. I'm going to use a bundt tin today. These are beautiful because when you actually turn the cake over, it actually gives it a really, really nice design over the top. So before we go any further, just to spray it a bit, I'm just going to get a little dusting of flour. So we're just going to sieve it over. So this just ensures that absolutely nothing sticks. So I've got here gala apples. You can use pink ladies, and these two I find are really nice. It's sweet, but it's also a little bit tart. So get a really nice, a good grater, or if you're good with the knife, you know, you can peel it with the knife. So grate it all the way through. One of these box graters are great. I mean, I've got 1,000,001 graters at home, but always, these are really good for things like apple cake or even a carrot cake. Really simple, just grate them through. Now, apples will oxidize once it hits the air, but don't worry about it. And then when you're left with little bits like this, start eating it. What I'm going to do now is I've got about 4 apples grated here that I grated earlier. I'm going to sit them and let them drain a little bit because we're going to get really soggy cake if we don't drain out some of the excess juice. Now we're going to get all the dried ingredients ready. With baking, you want to get your proportions exactly right. So what's going to go into this here is some plain flour. And we've got about 2 cups of flour here. And then about a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of that. And then probably about half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, so all the spices go in as well. So here I've got some cinnamon, I've got some cloves, and I've got some beautiful nutmeg. Please don't add too much cloves. I tend to just use maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon. I love cinnamon. Cinnamon is great. I mean, it'll bring out the flavor of the apples with the sugar and everything. It'll be just fantastic. 1.5 teaspoons. Probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon. All right, there we go. So we're going to sieve it through here. All right, so here we go. We've got all the dry ingredients in here. Grab a big mixing bowl. I find these are great because nothing falls out of it. So about 1 cup of sugar. I usually put just under 1 cup of sugar. So that's 1 cup of olive oil. Now this is, by the way, light flavored olive oil. 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs. So start off slow because you don't want it going everywhere. So you'll see it starts to thicken and emulsify, and that's what you want. All right, so I'm just going to put in some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful vanilla extract. Don't go for the essence. I think once you've tried the extract or the vanilla beans, you're not going to go backwards. So we're just going to whisk this through. All right. Now, I mustn't forget these. These are crimson raisins. They're not sickly sweet like a lot of raisins or sultanas are. They've got a little bit of tartness to them as well, so it kind of acts well against the apple cake. Really good. What we're going to do, we want to put it together with the dry ingredients. There's a reason for this. It's just so it doesn't sink down to the bottom. So now it's mixing time. And have a look at how much liquids come out of that, right? You don't want to add this into the cake because it's going to become a little soggy. So we can drink it. All right, so just drain that off. And what we're going to do now, everything goes together. Flour mixture goes in. This is when you want to kind of stir, fold. Don't activate it too much. So get it to about that point where you've got a little bit of dusting of flour. The apple goes in. All right. Now mix it through. I love my cakes. My mother used to make these apple cakes for us all the time. It's a slightly different recipe to hers. I wonder whose is better. These have been greased and slightly dusted. It all goes in. So once it's mixed up, let's just get into the oven as soon as possible. In we go. Just level them out a little bit. I tend to push them a little bit away from the middle. Okay, in the oven at 180 for about 50 minutes. Yummo. Excellent. So let's just clean down a little and we're going to start on the praline. So all we need is some sugar and some walnuts. So let's get this stove on. I'm going to get ready about, say, 200 grams of sugar. Here I've got about 100 grams of walnuts that I've broken up and I've toasted in the oven. 180, 5-10 minutes in the oven and that's done. So I'm just going to actually sprinkle this in just to cover the surface a little bit. Give it a bit of a shake and let it do its thing. So it's starting to melt in the edges. Shift it around a bit. So a little bit of water. If you see anything sort of forming on the sides, just run your brush around it. And you'll see it starts to color a little bit and that's exactly what you want. Make sure everything's melted through. Then start adding more sugar to it. Nicely, nice. So we're gonna put the walnuts through. It's up to you again, you know, what proportions you wanna put. Swirl it around and let's just pour it on. Do not touch it. There you go. This is the beautiful cake that came out of the oven. We've let it sort of cool. I mean, it just looks amazing. And that's the beauty about using a bundt tin because you get all these beautiful designs. Praline's done, it's cooled, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So break it up into chunks. I'm gonna pop a few of those in here. Right here, we've just got some large bits, some little bits, and I think that's gonna work perfectly. So a little bit of icing sugar over this, and then we sprinkle it all over the top. The moment of truth. Let's try this. Oh my. If only my mother was here. There we go. Yum. That just looks fantastic. Now, I've got to try it. I've got to try it. Cook's got to try her own dish. So here we go. Wow.